Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things. Why are we flying by his pointless statue in Booty Bay? Because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 are the spectral bovines and Bessie the ghost cow located at the chapel yard in Netherstorm. And I mean, when you think about it, I don't think there's many games that actually have ghost cows, so how could I not put ghost cows on this list? And then there's Bessie, who is part of the quest Needs More Cowbell, which is a reference to the old Saturday Night Live internet meme of the, needs more cowbell. And so you use Bessie's cowbell and ring it to lead her back to her owner, which, when you think about it, it's a little surreal. You're leading a ghost cow back to her ghost owner. Although I guess that's better than leading the ghost cow back to the not ghost owner, or vice versa. I don't know. You know what? It actually makes sense now that I think about it. Also, if you're curious as to why there's ghosts here, there's actually numerous possibilities. One was Draenor being ripped apart when Ner'zhul was opening too many portals. One was a bunch of orc attacks, and the other one was there's a mana bomb set off by Prince Kael'thas. So this is actually a terrible place to have lived. But still, you know what? It's got ghost cows, and that's pretty cool, so that's why it's number 10. 9. Number 9 are the ghosts of the Indule village, I think that's how you say it, which is a Tuskarr village found northwest of Moakai Harbor in Dragonblight. And the backstory behind these guys is actually pretty sad. So Lake Indule is located in the middle of Indule village, and it was from this lake that the magic leaked out due to the blue dragon's actions west of the lake that killed most of the Kalawak inhabitants and made the others deranged. So these Tuskarr were essentially just a byproduct of all the blue dragon arcane magic stuff going on all around them, and then they got caught up in the crossfire of the Nexus Wars and all that stuff, and then their village got destroyed. So I think what's so sad about this place is not only do you have these ghosts that are wandering around acting as if nothing happened, right? But then you also have the Tuskarr that lived through the explosions and the chaotic magic, and they're just walking around essentially going insane because of what they've lived through. So it's just really sad, and I feel like not enough people talk about this place in Warcraft history, so that's why the ghosts of Indule Village are number 9. 8. Number 8 is Franklorn Forgerite, and Franklorn Forgerite is a ghost that is in Blackrock Mountain that can only be seen while in ghost form. And I'm sure many people remember him from doing Molten Core or Blackrock Depths, and you died and you'd run back and you'd see him and you'd be like, whoa, that's a ghost guy. And he was a celebrated architect of the Dark Iron clan and oversaw the construction of the Stonerot Dam and much of Blackrock Depths. And so if you've ever taken the tunnels from Searing Gorge to Loch Modan with the Stonerot Pass, or you've seen the Stonerot Dam with those big dwarven heads on it, that's all from this guy. He was also responsible for Blackrock Spire. So I mean, this dude literally designed like almost everything in Blackrock Mountain. And on top of all that, he's actually a reference to Frank Lloyd Wright, or at least he was inspired from Frank Lloyd Wright, who was the famous American architect. And so not only is Franklorn Forgerite remembered for just being a ghost that you'd run by when you were dead in Blackrock Mountain, but he's also remembered for all the things he built in World of Warcraft. And so that's why it's number 8. 7. Number 7 is Ophelia Montag, and Ophelia is the ghost banker located in the Undercity. And Ophelia stands next to the other bankers who she's likely related to. There's Randolph Montag, Mortimer Montag, and William Montag. And since all of them are clearly related, it is likely that the Montags were a rich banking family, or I guess still are. And there's actually a Calvin Montag as well, located in Death Knell, which is the undead starting area, and he tries to con adventurers into delivering a letter for him for free. And Calvin Montag is actually a rogue, so it says here that taking names from Shakespeare's works, it's possible that they are a family of bankers, with Calvin being the black sheep that became a rogue. And I looked it up because I was like, what story is this from? And apparently it's Romeo and Juliet. I legit didn't even realize that Romeo's father is Lord Montag and his mother is Lady Montag. I also can't even remember the last time I read or saw anything about Romeo and Juliet, so that's probably also why I can't remember. But either way, I saw a lot of people that talked about remembering Ophelia Montag, the ghost banker, so I wanted to put her on the list, and that's why she's number 7. 6. Number 6 are the ghostly citizens of Stratholme, and the ghostly citizens are human ghosts located in Stratholme that perished when the city was destroyed by Arthas. However, they don't actually seem to realize that they're dead. And I'm not gonna lie, one of the main reasons I included these ghosts is because when you emote to them with either /dance or /wave or /rude, they actually react to the emote. So obviously with /dance, they will dance with you, and then if you do /wave, they will wave at you, but if you do rude, they will actually punch you in the face and knock you down and then be like, bleh. There's also a dwarf that has a quest to free the souls of these ghostly citizens with his blaster, and his name is Egan, and it's a reference to Egon Spengler from the Ghostbuster franchise. I also wanted to mention that it seems that a lot of the ghosts in World of Warcraft seem to have died in a very chaotic or extreme way, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, they should just go get resurrected or whatever in the game, right? But I feel like that's the whole point, is like they died in such a terrible way that now they're just kind of lost in the world, you know what I mean? I'm sure there's exceptions to that, but that's kind of what I've noticed for a lot of them. So that's why the ghostly citizens of Stratholme are number 6. 5. Number 5 are the ghosts located at the Briny Barnacle Inn, located at Admiral Taylor's garrison in the spires of Iraq. And the inn's patrons were slaughtered by the treacherous Watch Commander Branson and turned into spectral ghosts by his master, the necromancer Ephial. Branson and the bodies of his victims can be found down in the cellar. And if you talk to Alice Finn, she says, I remember now, Watch Commander Branson told us to stay in the inn. He said we'd be safe here, and then that thing broke through and slaughtered everyone. And so I guess the necromancer probably put a curse or a spell onto Watch Commander Branson, and he turned into the skeleton, and then he killed everybody after, you know, telling him, like, get inside, I'll protect you. And then he was actually the one that killed him. I think that's what it is. I don't know. I was trying to piece this all together, but I couldn't really find too much on it. But I'm not gonna lie, the reason I love this place so much is everybody's just having a good time. They're drinking, they're dancing. There's that gnome in the hat, and he's just dancing on a chair. Like, for being ghosts, they're just really having a good time, and I thought that was really fun, so that's why the Briny Barnacle ghosts are number 5. 4. Number 4 are the ghosts at the Dark Moon Fair, and I actually covered this over in Pointless Top 10 Dark Moon Fair oddities and things. You go watch that one at the end of the video, but theory is that Rona Greenteeth killed a lot of these people that are now ghosts on the island, and she's the NPC that sells various cannibalistic-esque dishes. I put a list of them up on the screen right there so you can kind of piece together everything. And some of the ghosts are Brendan Paulson, who's this kid that Silas Darkmoon met at Strom 1,200 years ago, and his father tried to kill him, and he joined the fair to escape his family, but then he ends up dying at the Dark Moon Fair. There's Cythera Wellspun, who went looking for firewood, and she saw something in the bushes and then blacked out. There's Zazla, who survived one of the many Dark Moon Fair shipwrecks around the island, and then he ended up getting killed. There's Arlen Sherhoof, who talks about never leaving his camp and watching over his camp. So I think that's kind of like what we talked about earlier. He had this kind of really terrifying death, and now he's kind of reliving these terrible memories over and over, and his spirit's trapped here. And then there's Cup Coincare, who worked at the fair trying to repay his debt to Silas, but then died when he tried to leave. And so the ghosts at the Dark Moon Fair have some pretty sad backstories, and they kind of shed some light on the weird and mysterious nature of the Dark Moon Fair. And that's why they're number 4. 3. Number 3 is Anara, and Anara is a Kyrian spirit healer, so she's technically not a ghost, but I'm counting it just because she's pretty much like a ghost, alright? This is a pointless top 10. I can do whatever I want. And so you have to go on a quest to convince Azure Ghost to come back to the world of the living. And so you talk to Joanna, and she's like, oh yeah, just take the portal. It'll take you right to him. And you take it, and it drops you and kills you, which technically does take you to them. And so he's pretty much like, hey, you know what? I'm not coming back. I met somebody. And you're just like, wait, who? There's no dragons here. And he's like, don't be ridiculous. She's standing right there. And then he's like, she has a name, you know, Anara. You know how many times her and her sisters have brought you back to life? But after some more dialogue, you eventually do convince Azure Ghost to leave the spirit realm. And he's like, all right, I'll go with you. And then Anara's like, hey, you know what? This will be fine. I know this was going to be temporary anyway. It's all good. And so, yeah, I think Anara is one of the only named spirit healers in the game, and I don't know where else I was going to include her in a pointless top 10, and I was like, you know what? I may as well put her in Ghosts, so that's why Anara is number 3. 2. Number 2 is Pamela Redpath, and I feel like everybody knows Pamela Redpath. I think she is really one of the most well-known ghosts in World of Warcraft. She is a quest giver located at Darrowshire in the Eastern Plaguelands, and she is the youngest daughter of Joseph Redpath, who was killed at the Battle of Darrowshire. And back in Classic WoW, you have to go and get the pieces of her doll. There's the head and the left side and the right side, and then you put the doll back together for her. But in Cataclysm, they actually changed it so you help Joseph Redpath's ghost like fight off all the Darrowshire stuff, and then he goes and greets Pamela, and she's like, I heard him whisper to me, yay, and then she makes you some tea. You can also go to the Culling of Stratholme dungeon in the Caverns of Time, and you can find Pamela and her dad alive in a building. But whether you prefer the classic quests or the Cataclysm quests or whatever it might be, I think it doesn't matter. Pamela Redpath is definitely one of the most well-known ghosts in World of Warcraft, and so I had to put her on this list, and that's why she's number 2. And number 1 is First Mate Fitzsimmons, and First Mate Fitzsimmons is a human quest giver located outside Deepwater Tavern in Menethil Harbor. And if you talk to him, he says he was once first mate on the Wave Mistress, and that when he was on his ship, they were attacked by red dragons controlled by orcs. His fleet was burned and sunk off the coast, and he was the sole survivor of those poor vessels. And then he asks you to go get his mead so that he can get drunk and forget about it. So then you bring him his alcohol, he starts drinking it, and then he's like, I'm the sole survivor of the ill-fated Third Fleet of Kulturas wrecked off the coast to the north. One of our ships was hidden a great and terrible treasure, and the eerie power of it keeps the souls of my brothers trapped within the ship's rotting hulls. And so he says he's haunted by them day and night, and First Mate Snellig calls for him. So he wants you to go talk to the First Mate Snellig at the shipwrecks. And so you go and talk to him, and he's just like, the sailors of the Third Fleet are damned forever, cursed to wander these shores in agony. Fitzsimmons' anguish is tied to us. So long as we suffer, there can be no rest for him either. And so he wants you to end the suffering and kill a bunch of the ghosts. And so you go and you kill a bunch of the pirates, but it's still not enough. And he says Captain Holindor damned us all to covet a forbidden artifact, the Eye of Paleth. His spirit still covets it, standing guard over the strongbox of his old ship. Defeat the captain, claim his key, and spirit the Eye of Paleth far from this place. And so you go and do all that, you kill the captain, you get everything, and then you open it, and it's the Eye of Paleth. And opening the chest reveals a blackened orb pulsing with an eerie light. And so it wants you to bring the cursed Eye of Paleth to a priest in Menethil Harbor. But here's the creepy part. When you go to this priest, he says, the Eye of Paleth. You say Fitzsimmons sent you out. By the light, not again. Fitzsimmons is dead, lass. You've not the first to come to me like this either. And then when you go back out to look for First Mate Fitzsimmons, he's gone. He's just not there anymore. And so out of all the ghosts, I think this is the creepiest one because you don't realize you're talking to a ghost until everything's over and he's gone. And I just thought that was really creepy. And so that's why First Mate Fitzsimmons is number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you go watch Dark Moon Fair, Oddity and Things, like I mentioned earlier in the video, or you can go watch Creepy Things if you want more creepy things. Also, consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/crendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See you.